I'm Lucas,
And I'm Russell.
and you're
And
listening.
you're listening to Sad Boy Podcast.
Yeah, sad boy.
Sad Boy Podcast. Okay, yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Sad Boy Podcast.
Welcome back. This is our second attempt at recording this.
Yeah, it is. We have our good friend Sophie joining us as a guest.
Yes.
Yes, welcome.
Hi,
Sophie.
Sophie.
Hi,
How you
everyone.
been?
Everyone, thank you for inviting me to the podcast. I've been looking forward to this for a really long time.
She has. We
She
talked
has,
about
she
this
really
like
has.
in January.
Even before that.
Yeah. She was wanting to come on, and finally we have her here. So yeah, how's everything, Sophie?
That's good. Quarantine, lockdown life. It's not the best, but you kind of have to learn how to enjoy activities by yourself at home and with family.
What kind of activities have you been doing? Because I think we know you got a dog during this time.
Yeah, we've got a
You
dog.
got PS4, PS5 as well now.
Training
I
the
know.
dog.
Must be nice.
PS5. I have a Switch. A lot of Animal
Wow.
Crossing. A lot of new games I'm trying to play. So I watched the gameplay for Resident Evil 7, and I think I'm going to get Resident Evil 8 on the PS5.
Nice.
You're gonna stream it for us, right?
Yes.
Yes, you're gonna be one of those streamer girls now.
I don't think
Yes.
I'm going to be able to play it by myself, to be perfectly honest. Like, I watched a bit of Resident Evil 8, and it's scary. It's really scary.
Just play
Yeah.
with your dog around. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's enough. Like, I'm going to have to play with all the lights turned on. Like, I can't play by myself.
Wait, don't you like
would your
horror
boyfriend
movies?
play with you?
Don't you
Sorry?
like horror movies?
I like horror movies, but like it's different, right? Because when you're in the game, it's kind of like you are more in control of what happens next, right? Whereas in movies,
That's true.
in
I
movies, if
guess.
you don't want to see it, you just close your eyes or something, and you don't need to look at it.
Oh
Just
yeah, but in
close
the
your
game you
eyes in the
can.
game. Just close your eyes in the game. It's fine.
Yeah, you got a good point there.
Wait, what about your boyfriend though? He can play with you.
I guess so, but he doesn't. I don't think he'll like horror.
Oh, it's okay. Okay, then maybe eventually when COVID's better, we'll have like a party. We'll all sit around you while you play Resident Evil 8.
Oh, okay.
Once COVID.
All right. I
Yeah,
guess it'll be like
because
that.
I mean like this game, like I know they got it to be like really scary because I think they went back to like the roots of Resident Evil horror.
Yeah, I think so.
Because the past few ones have been like random jump scares, but it was more like action
Really,
than actual horror. Yeah.
Oh.
seven's really good. You guys should check it out.
Oh yeah, I
I
watched
have-
gameplays.
I never even played 1 to 6.
So what I usually do is like I don't play the Resident Evil games. I just watch it on YouTube. It's
Okay.
safer
Yeah,
because then if it
Alright.
gets scary, I can close my eyes.
that's true.
I guess it just be like that.
Yeah, because I mean, like at one point I had the Resident Evil 2 remake. I just had it playing on YouTube, and I just kind of left it on the side as like quote unquote like a movie, and I just like did my thing.
Oh,
Yeah. Sometimes it's better that way, but at the same time, I get it when people want to play the actual game and like they get freaked out and shit.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not the same.
Yeah. What other games have you been playing, Sophie?
Well, I downloaded Assassin's Creed.
The
Valhalla.
new
That's
one?
a good one. The new
That
one.
that's a good one. How is it?
It's pretty good. It's like an adventure game. I really like these kind of adventure exploration games now because of
Yeah, open
I
world.
can't really go out, so I can't go out physically in reality.
So you got to explore it in the game.
so I can explore the game.
You should try playing Breath of the Wild for Zelda on the Switch. It's
Mhm.
pretty good since like you're gonna be like out in the wild a lot anyways, and exploring.
That's true. That's true. It's better than Breath of the Refrigerator at home because
All right.
busy opening the refrigerator the whole time.
All right. Okay.
That's a good
You're not wrong.
Yeah. But I mean, like, if you want to play Breath of the Wild, I do have a copy of it at home if you ever want to borrow it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, so let's get into the actual topic. The controversial topic
The controversial topics.
Is it
that's
really
been happening.
controversial? I don't even know.
I don't even know.
We don't know. No one knows. How the viewers or the listeners will let us know
The
if it's
listeners
controversial or
will
not.
the listeners will tell us whether they think it's controversial or not.
Yeah.
I
Even
mean,
though
like
I
people will
think
say it's political, but it's not political, right?
nah, I don't think this is political.
No.
You know, we save the
Yeah,
political
but
episodes with like Ben.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
No,
And
but
in a
like
way,
people
it
who's like
could be
who
political.
who don't care about like racism against people or violence against other people of color, they'll just say it's political.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Or it's that weird thing where like people still think that like you know, you don't have to be political even though like everything in this world right now is connected to politics. Like everything's
Yeah.
just connected with each other.
Yeah.
It's impossible to not have politics connected to society and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So recently the biggest things that's been happening is this anti-Asian violence. Though I think it's more so in America than Canada, because I think Canada is still pretty, we're more liberal than America.
I've only seen it going viral in the US mostly of anything. And sometimes
Yeah.
Australia and the UK, but
They
it's
have
been
it too?
mainly in the US. Yeah, they've been having it sometimes as well. But
Huh.
you don't really see it like going out there as virally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, like, I think, because you know how, like, when it first started last year, it was because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
And I know, like, was it Markham or Toronto? They did this thing to kind of support Asians by saying, like, oh, you know what, this week, we're all going to be going to, like, support Asian restaurants.
I think it was
Even though this was when,
Richmond
like,
Hill
the
and Markham.
pandemic was starting.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think it's a good idea to go to the restaurants at this point if the pandemic's already here. But, you know, I guess it's a good thing that they did it. But then it's
I
like,
don't know.
it happened a little bit because I know back then there was a story of like, what was it, like a dad and his son, they got attacked in New York, I think. Like a guy had a knife and they like slashed their heads or something.
Was this recent?
No, this is last year. This was last year.
Okay.
The kid's head was like literally like slashed from his eye to like almost like the back of his head.
Oh
Oh,
no.
Yeah, and I think the dad, I forgot what happened to the dad. Like they all got attacked, right? And like the thing is like, even though that was on like the news for like a little bit,
Hmm.
it died down after, and no one talked about it.
Yeah, I think, like it's the hate crimes against Asians. It kind of has been brewing for a while now, but I don't think it's received as much media attention as it did until recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially I think right now like a lot of Asians are speaking out, like thanks to social media and all that stuff. I think everyone's gained this ability to speak out on these things.
Hmm.
It's also mostly because of the pandemic and COVID going on. And it's almost been a year since like that's been going on, so
that's why like the more recent ones I'm still confused. Like I don't think these are COVID related anymore, right? Because
Well,
if these are still COVID related, like these would have been, from last year when it first started, right? Like why would it still be now?
it'll probably just be like a case by case basis as well. Like some
here's
people would just be like COVID related. Like you see Jeremy Lin in the G League being called coronavirus.
yeah,
So
but
that's
Oh, really?
COVID related for sure.
nobody's
Yeah.
talked about it until now. If you think about it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's happened. It's 100% it's happened. But then because it's an Asian related topic, it's not something that can be that's gonna be viral.
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
a lot of the news reporters they don't really report on it because it's not gonna gain as much traction as some of the other movements going on.
Yeah, for sure. But that's what social media is for as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because everything's just going on blast right now. So like,
Yeah.
like one of the more okay. So actually, no, let's talk about like what started it this year, right? So, I mean, I think this is the one that started where like there was like an elder man walking down the street or something, and like a dude just ran up and pushed him on the ground.
Yes, and he died from head injuries, I believe.
It was
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
I
happened
saw the
in
video.
Yeah, I didn't
but the
want to see
guy,
the video because it was it's
I forgot
such a
where it was
horrific
posted.
incident.
I forgot where they
Uh,
posted. I think it was Six Buzz,
I thought it was Nick Shark, but
or maybe it
it'll
was
be
that too.
everywhere anyways.
It's everywhere.
People will see everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. So the video was literally like the guy like charged at this old man, and then the old man literally his head went like he went head first into the ground.
Yeah.
And that's like, what the fuck, like why what's happening? And then I've seen like other videos of like an Asian lady just at the ATM like trying to get money out, and then like a dude just randomly walked by and like grabbed her and just like tossed her on the floor and then stole her money.
Yeah, there's just so many. And then there was another one where a young man was on a bridge and he called the police in distress because he was having mental health issues. And
Yeah, they shot him, right?
instead of helping him, the police just shot him, and he had his hands up and everything.
Yep. The police report said he was armed and pointing the gun at the police cruiser. They were in the car,
Mm-hmm.
but like the video that was surfaced, he has hands up. He was unarmed. He probably put the gun on the ground or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to commit suicide. So I don't know what the police train of thought of this was, but this happened like back in December and then really, it's still not really viral at all.
No, I don't think that many people even know about that video's existence.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I think like I vaguely remember seeing it, but that's it.
I don't remember what the kid's name was. I think it was
Christian Hall.
I like how you have it.
That was his name.
Yes, Christian Hall.
Yeah, very sad, right? Like a lot of, even if you talk to your parents about it, I'm sure a lot of them probably have not heard about it.
No,
I don't think they've heard about it.
Not a lot of people have heard about it. It has not gone viral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not because he's Asian. It's not interesting. It's not going to make it on the news. It's not going to trend because, the sad truth is a lot of people they don't see this as hatred towards Asians.
No,
they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because the hot topic is police brutality on Black people. Because that shit goes viral, but not towards like other minorities.
Yeah.
Which I think, like in all honesty, I think it is kind of like the media company's fault. It's because like no matter what, like at the end of the day, there's still a business. So like rather than doing its job by actually giving as many news stories as they can to the people, they nitpick which ones can make them more money.
Of course.
So because right now the biggest thing is like, or before it was like the racism towards Black people, police brutality towards Black people. That was the biggest sellers for them, right? That's why like you saw more and more of it on your news feeds and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. And all
for
the
Asians
talking about it too.
Yeah, and then like you have Asians where it's almost as if like they know that usually when stuff happens to Asian people, we just kind of quote unquote sweep it under the rug and just everything just passes.
It is, yeah.
Right.
And if you look at like recent brands who did try to speak out against it, it was just a single Instagram post.
Oh yeah, that's why like when it comes to corporations, they only do it just for a quote unquote small little PR thing, but at the end of the day, it means nothing.
It really doesn't mean anything. Like they posted like, yeah, we stand with our Asian whatever, and that's it, right?
Yeah,
that's it. Nothing else. Yeah. They don't do anything. There's no action. There's nothing. There's nothing that they can do to show that they are in support of the Asian community.
Yeah. It's just as bad as my thoughts and prayers are with you.
Basically, it's corporations doing virtue signaling.
Yeah. Yes. And have you guys looked into some of the comments underneath those postings?
Oh no, I haven't actually.
I don't look at the comments anymore because they can get very toxic.
It's very toxic, and so I think the problem is that people when you say, oh yeah, like Asians experience racism as well. Well, you know what? They bring up this argument that Asian people are white aligned and that we are just as privileged as our white as our white peers. But then if you think about it, like do you guys really think that's true?
I wouldn't say white aligned,
mm-hmm.
but I would say Asians...
I'd say we are more privileged compared to other different people of color.
Because from the older generation of Asians, they just know to work for what they want. They don't care about anything else. So yes, they do work for what they want.
Yeah.
And then that privilege passes down to the next generation and so forth. So yes, we are somewhat more privileged than other ethnicities, but I wouldn't say it's white aligned. Though if you want to say white aligned as in um, both like really like money and they work towards money, then I guess sure you can say it like that. But at the end of the day, it's just Asians are typically just known to be very hardworking people.
Yeah.
So then we would have to work, twice as hard as our peers to get to where we want to be, basically.
I wouldn't say we have to work twice as hard if we're still not being recognized or even being like successful or whatever. Like people would just look at us like that Asian that's
Yeah,
like
yeah. I mean,
successful.
it's like like movies and everything, right? They always like have that stereotype, like the Asian is usually like the funny guy with the accent, or they know kung fu. Like
Yeah.
it's
Or like
always
the
that
tech
stuff, right?
guy.
Yeah.
But what
Yeah.
about the term model minority being thrown around towards Asians?
Mm,
Do you think it's doing us more harm than
Oh,
good?
it's definitely doing us more harm than good. Like it's a double edged sword, to be honest.
It
I think
is,
all of
yeah.
it is a double
Yeah,
edged sword.
because we get that privilege, but other races might see it as the privilege.
It is.
That they see it as the privilege that we do not experience racism when in reality we do experience racism.
Yeah, it's a
We just tend
double-edged
to
sword
not care
because
as much.
if you think about it, like
Yeah.
Asians are just taught to from a young age taught to value education and to value hard work and follow the rules, keep your head down, and that's just what we've been told our entire lives, right? And that's
Hmm.
why they call us the model minority, because that's just been something that we were taught from a young age. Whereas I don't know about how things are done in other cultures, like maybe education and hard work is not as valued as it is in our cultures. It's a complicated topic, I think.
I think for I'm not going to speak for other cultures, but
Yeah.
like
No, we can't speak for
compared
other.
to us,
Hmm.
would just be like be successful, work hard in school.
Yeah,
For other like people of color and minorities, they would just be
yeah.
like survive. That's all they are taught
Just to
compared
survive,
to like
exactly.
yeah,
Survive
compared to
and to stay
us.
away from the police, right?
Compared to us, then be like go to Kumon, be a doctor or whatever, get
Yeah,
good
Yeah.
grades,
yeah,
4.0
Yeah.
GPA, go to
Yeah.
Harvard, whatever.
Yeah. And the thing is, like,
Or
so
U of T, I don't know.
here's like some of the stuff that I learned back when I did international development studies, right?
yeah.
So because we talked a lot about like poverty and all that stuff.
Hmm.
So one of the things that they did teach was saying like big corporations, they tend to put like for example like their factories and all that stuff in neighborhoods of minorities, right? Which then it kind of brings down the standard of living or quality of life for those people,
Yeah,
right? And because that happens, then it kind of increases the poverty there, and then that's when they start turning towards crime, right? Petty thief and everything, and then that stereotype starts passing it on and on and on, and
yeah,
then that's how people view certain cultures, right?
yeah. It really starts right from childhood, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of things that we bring into our adulthood was something that we see or experience as a child.
Hmm. For sure.
Yeah. Well, everybody has their own struggle, right? Especially for first generation immigrants who come to a new country not knowing the language. It's a very scary experience.
It is. It really is. Um, but I I was actually gonna make a comment about earlier when you guys were talking about privilege because
Mm,
I think I look at privilege in a different perspective because I know nowadays everyone throws out the word privilege. No matter what happens, everyone's just like you're privileged, or whatever, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's kind of associating or generalizing the word privilege now,
Oh
right?
yeah.
If you think about it, no matter what, no matter where you are, who you interact with, there's always going to be people who have more privilege than you and an advantage to you in life, and there will always be people who have a disadvantage to you in life,
Yeah.
Yep.
right? So that's why, like, for a long time, even now, I'm still very confused as to. I mean, not confused. I mean, I know like when people talk about like privilege in terms of race, sure, I see it. Like especially in America, right? Like, I mean, we've all seen it on the news. Like, sometimes white people can do a certain crime and they get off easier, but then when a person of color does it, they get, punished more,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when it
Mhm.
comes to race privilege, I get it, but then there's also that generalization of like, if you're white, you must be rich and privileged, and it's like that's not the case. There are white people who live in poverty too. Just because you're focusing on that 1% in the world doesn't mean that translates to every single person in the world,
Yeah, and
right?
and here's the thing: like we live in a society where there are so many hundreds of different cultures mixed into one city,
Mm-hmm.
right? And every single culture, there's going to be different mindsets, different thinkings, and it's not, and to try to force your own opinions onto somebody else is not fair,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And that's that argument with like universal truth and personal truth, right? I feel like nowadays everyone's just forcing their personal truth onto people, believing that their personal truth is the universal truth.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that, to be honest, I do think that is a really, really big issue, because then it's almost to the point where it's like no one is entitled to their own opinion anymore.
Yeah, I can see
Yep.
where you're coming from. I can see where you're coming from. A
Yeah.
lot of it is just, we live in a society where there's just so much different cultures mixed in together, right? And so
Yep.
you're gonna have people who come from cultures where they think that they are better than another one, right? And
Yeah.
that's inevitable, right? That's you can't avoid that, especially in a city like Toronto.
Yeah, for sure.
And it can become a very messy topic. And when you want to bring like politics, for example, into it, like I'm Chinese, but but if you talk to me about what the Chinese government is doing, like I don't even know what to say because things going on in China has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing over here in Canada.
Yeah.
No,
But for some
your
reason,
ethnicity should not speak for other like countries doing whatnot.
exactly. And so, to bring it back to COVID, I have cases where, I'm walking down the street and someone says, go back to China. Your people brought this over here. Like, I was born in Toronto. I've lived in Canada my entire life. So it's very hurtful when I hear those kind of comments when I'm outside just minding my own business.
Yeah, it
Definitely.
is. And the funny thing is, like,
Um,
sometimes they don't say like go back to China. They go back. They always say like go back to your country, and then sometimes it's like, bro, I don't think you and your family are from this country either.
like
Nobody
or go
is.
back where you're from or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
okay, I'll just walk down the
like
street
are
back
you
home. Yeah.
indigenous? Like are you First Nations? If you are, then yeah, this is your country. But if you're not, you're the same as me,
Yep.
right? So I don't know. The way I see a lot of these things is like the, it's like a double edged sword, right? Like Canada, US, we promote diversity in culture, right? We accept a lot of people, different cultures into the country, but then people interpret it in a different way. And that's when, the racism starts and they become very disrespectful, and then it just spirals down the loop. And right now, I think the society is kind of, it's spiraling to the point where even like I try my best to think of like ways to, maybe one day if I have the power to kind of reverse all of it. But then it's like, it's spiraling to the point where it's almost as if one idea is
Hmm.
dominating every single thing, and then this is the only way to live over here in the US or Canada, and
Yeah.
that's not how it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
right? We're supposed to be embracing like different cultures, different ideas, and yet everyone not everyone, but like society is trying to push away all these things, right? So for example, even away from racism, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the LGBTQ community, when it comes to religion, Christianity is against that.
Yeah.
And then I see people like hating Christianity for being homophobic, transphobic, and it's like, so what are you guys doing? Are you guys trying to attack religion now just because one group of people don't believe in what you believe in?
Yeah. It can become very messy, right?
Yeah, and it's becoming very, very messy, and it's like, it's not like, even if someone doesn't think the same way as you do,
Mhm.
the one thing that we should be doing is just saying, okay, like, we think differently. That's cool. Now we're just gonna move on with our lives. But it's like almost as if no one wants to move on with their lives, and everyone just wants to focus on that thing and
Yeah.
target it.
So here's another question: like how close do you guys feel to Canadian culture, whatever that is, compared to
Whatever it is. I don't even know
Whatever
what
that
Canadian
is.
compared
culture
to your
is.
Asian.
Was Canadian culture eating Tim Hortons, maple
Um,
syrup, beer,
beavers.
beavers? No, anyways, yeah, go on. Sorry.
But how close do you guys feel to, let's say, being Canadian versus your Asian heritage?
I feel closer to my Chinese heritage than I am with like whatever the Canadian culture is. I recognize that I'm Canadian,
Yeah,
but at the same time, I recognize my heritage as being Chinese or Asian.
yeah. But then if you think about it, a lot, when there is hate crimes against Asians, it's mostly go back to your country, and what I've been noticing a lot of times is the narrative is that Asian people are the outsiders, right? Like when people see a Chinese person walking down the street, they automatically think that they're not from around here and that you know they're just a visitor. But in
Yeah,
reality, that person is a citizen.
yeah. Well, we're always going to have people with that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And those people that are like with those kind of mindset aren't their minds aren't really that easy to change. You can attempt to have dialogue with them,
Hmm.
but they've already settled on being ignorant or
Yeah.
racist, or they've settled on bigotry
It,
towards
it's
other
it's it's a
people.
thing where like you can try to engage in dialogue with them,
Hmm.
but if you see that they're unwilling, then why would you stress yourself out by trying to force that dialogue to happen, right? Like the more you
Yeah,
force it, the more they're going to be against it, right? And it just becomes a cycle again.
Yeah, like
yeah,
I can't even count the number of times where someone has asked me, "Where are you from?" And I just tell them, "Well, I am from Toronto." And
or
they ask me,
Etobicoke.
"Oh, where are you really from? Like where are your ancestors from?" And it's just like,
Where are your ancestors from, bro?
Okay. I guess for those people that are like curious as to what kind of heritage or ethnicity you are, you
hmm,
could try to change their minds by saying like, "You mean what my ethnicity is? What race I am, or
I
where?"
think in those situations, I think what happens is like you get what they're trying to ask, but it's the way they word it that
hmm.
sounds very offensive,
Yeah, I say
right?
those. That's not really. That's more of ignorance than
Yeah,
racism, I'd
that
say.
yeah, because what I've
Which,
realized like with a lot of people is that sometimes like you see what their intention is, but the execution of their idea is sometimes very off and can be interpreted in a negative way.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and not only that, but then I just feel like, as an Asian person, I've always been kind of treated as the outsider, like I don't really belong.
oh yeah,
Hmm.
I've had a lot of that experience as well,
Yeah,
personally.
and you see what's going on right now, especially with this is a really bad example, but the housing market, a lot of blame is shifted onto foreign buyers, and as soon as you say a foreign buyer, they automatically assume that all Chinese people buying real estate in Canada is a foreign investor.
Oh,
But
I know of that example.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
yeah, but then in reality, if you think about it, a lot of us have citizenship or permanent residence in Canada, and
Mhm.
not every Chinese person buying a house is buying it as an investment
Oh no, a lot of them are just buying the big houses to live in
to
because
live in.
it's cheaper to buy it here than in Asia, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think what that comes from is like majority, yes, it is people who like just immigrated from China or like their kids came here for school and they're trying to get that PR card or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
yes, majority is mainland China people, but at the same time, there's also a lot of people of other ethnicities here who actually have a lot of money as well, and they are flipping houses for profit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess that could be like another reason as to why there's just a lot of what's the right word?
Generalization,
Dislike,
stereotyping.
dislike against
Generalization.
Asian people. Recent trend in dislike against Asian people.
Yeah, that'll be I'd say that'll be the same as the real estate being the same as like the COVID situation as well, right? That you're like
Yes.
Chinese or Asian that you have COVID. I feel like that'll be kind of the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say there's a multitude of factors, right? If you think about
Yeah.
it, so COVID, there's a real estate situation, the lack of employment as well.
Hmm.
What do you
Reason
mean
why,
by lack of employment?
Well,
well,
because everyone's unemployed. There's a
everyone.
lot of people
Yeah.
unemployed right now.
Yeah.
So automatically,
Okay. Oh, okay.
the
Never mind.
thinking would
Yeah.
be like foreigners are taking our jobs, but we're Canadian, so
But in reality, it's really just a lot of companies have to cut their labor by half, or like they gotta close down.
Yep.
yeah.
There's just so many factors, right? So I got a question for you guys. Do you guys believe that it's possible to be racist towards a white person?
Yeah. Definitely. You can have like malice towards a person just because he's white.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you have ill intentions towards a group of people, then that technically is classified as racism, right?
Yeah. It's like
Because like for a lot of people that I've seen talk about it, they all believe that it's impossible to be racist towards a white person,
no, it's definitely
right? And I'm just
impossible.
like, it's possible to be racist towards a lot of people,
Yeah.
any culture you can. So
It
like even
depends
like
on what
the
your definition of it though is, right? Like I think it's not really I don't think that there is a set definition for it. Everybody has their own experience and like maybe they've experienced something that we have never experienced ourselves. So it's hard to say. It's
because I
hard.
mean like I've seen like generalizations of like, oh, like um old white men are rich and they gotta like do XYZ, and it's like not all old white men do that, but okay, sure. Like the
Yep.
blaming or even calling white people like white supremacy, like even though like white supremacy is bad, but technically that could count as racism too towards white people. And apparently the most recent one, apparently calling Karen can be considered racist too.
I don't know. I just feel like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not really a black and
I
white
yeah.
topic. It
It's
really
kind
depends
of
on
the
the
gray
situation.
area if you're
It's a
just
gray
calling
area because
for those kind of examples.
yeah, because a lot of times, right? Like, why are people being called Karens? There is a reason behind it, right? And when something does happen, you see a group of people hiding behind their privilege because they know that there's no retaliation against them.
Yeah.
So last year, a black man was walking through Central Park taking photos, and a a Karen came up to him and said, "Hey, like you're not supposed to be here," and started acting out and threatened to call the police on him, even though he wasn't doing anything wrong. I mean, in that
Oh, that
situation,
story.
yeah, in
Yeah.
that situation, she was using her privilege to protect her because she knows that by doing that, nothing will happen to her. Whereas, had it been a person of color, 100% there would have been some form of retaliation. So
Hmm.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
really a
that's
case
true.
by case like
it's case by
basis.
case. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
you
like
know that story though. So apparently, like she lost her dog, and apparently she was able to get the dog back after that whole incident.
I didn't really keep. Oh wow, really?
Yeah, because like in the video, you saw like she was like literally trying to like pull,
Like
like almost like
pull her
strangle the
back.
dog, right?
Yeah.
And then like I think her dog got taken away,
Yeah.
and then apparently like a while later, like they actually gave the dog back to her.
Oh wow.
She probably appealed it or something. It's
I don't think
Maybe, but like the
they would.
yeah. We
video
can't
literally
really judge it
showed,
on the surface.
but
Yeah.
like the video literally showed how she treated her dog, and then somehow
Yeah,
like she was still able
definitely.
to get the dog back, and it's just like
Yeah.
what?
That is not good.
I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
So I mean, right? So I mean, like to bring it all together, a lot of the movements we're seeing right now is just to call out the privilege that other groups experience and to really share, why it's not unfair. Some groups of people are experiencing the things that they do, whereas
Hmm.
other groups are getting away with it.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
I think we for this generation and moving forward, um, we got to work harder to continuously call out these people and to change the behavior so that society can be a much more fair place for
Yeah, like
everyone.
I think what we have to do is just all the minorities who have come together, share their stories, talk about it, try to, move forward, think of solutions instead of pointing fingers at one another and saying, okay, because of you, I'm experiencing this, or because of this group, this and this is happening. I think,
Mhm.
to really move forward, we really need to work together and try to come up with actual solutions in bettering, lives for our future generations.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the thing is like hold on, shit, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. Like, we're really lucky. I think we're really lucky to be able to live in Toronto because we have so many different cultures here, right?
Yeah, we
And
do.
like, did you experience as much racism as you would if you were living in, let's say, Alabama? I don't know. I'm just throwing out there, or like Idaho.
Alabama. Wow.
Alabama.
Maine.
I'm just trying to think of like red states.
Red state.
I mean,
Alright.
for me, like,
Alabama. Yo, it's poor Alabama people.
I think it's very dependent on where you live, right?
Where you live,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like for example, like even just like how I grew up compared to how Lucas grew up, like we both talked about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I grew up in Markham, and as I grew up in Markham, I never really experienced racism.
Yeah. Well, that's
But then
because
compared to like Lucas and like the area that he lived in, like it was different, right? Because Markham, over time, a lot more Asians just started coming in, so Asians basically became the majority in Markham.
Yeah. I up to middle school I've experienced racism just because I was Chinese. So
Yeah.
yeah. It's
yeah,
it's
like
been
my
it's been a
my
while.
earliest recollection of racism was, what my parents, they are first generation immigrants, and my lunches would always just be like Chinese food. And one time my mom made udon noodles for me. She just stir fried it, and I was eating it in the cafeteria, and people would come up to me and be like, "Ew, what is
Yeah.
that? Why is it so slimy looking?" And I told them it was
Oh
just,
yeah.
and I
It's just
told them like,
noodles.
I didn't say it was just noodles at the time. I just want to like play a prank on them. I just said, "Oh, yeah, it's cow brains," and they believed me.
Yeah,
They believed
that's
People are.
it.
kids
Those
are
that's
mean. Kids are
that.
very mean.
Yeah, that's just. I wouldn't say it's just racism. I just say it's like difference of how people are like raised. Like low key,
Yeah.
it is racism, but like
And
since there's like they are kids, they are kind of innocent. They don't really know any better. But
They're more oblivious
yeah,
than anyone
but now
else.
that they're adults, Chinese food and or like Asian food are like the next big thing.
I've
Like they're
even had
huge on
a
tacos, noodles,
case.
ramen,
I've,
sushi.
I've had a case where, growing up, I've had kids come up to me and say like, my mom told me that Chinese people smell bad. Like,
Whoa,
that's actually
what?
me. Yeah,
I think I've had that experience as well, but
that's happened to me.
that's probably happening to me as well. But I probably just
The only smell that I can think of is if your house was filled with those incense stuff,
yeah,
and then
I
that
probably
smell
just
just kind
removed
of
it out of my
lingered.
memory.
Yeah,
I don't
that's the
know.
only thing I can think of in terms of smell.
Like, I've experienced that as a child, and if you think about it, it's kind of it's kind of messed up that, parents would be telling their children this kind of stuff, and it stayed with me my entire life. Like, oh, Chinese people smell bad because I because my parents said so.
I would just be
Yeah,
like,
that's just the difference of how
why don't
kids
you
are
go try
raised.
running on a treadmill for 30 minutes and tell me if you smell bad?
Wow, wow,
But these are
yeah,
like to add to my point, like these kind of behaviors are things that, I would like to see changed in future generations. And
Hmm.
if we don't start now, then when are we ever going to start?
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Like
and
That's
the
the
thing is,
thing.
like now that we're starting now, I this is just me trying to assume what's gonna happen, right? So I think, um, if you want racism to die down, I think it will take at least a few generations, right? Because now that we're starting,
Hmm.
there's still a lot of the older generation who will remain, you know, with their mindset, right? Like it's almost impossible to change, right? And at that point, if it's impossible, like why should we still continue to waste our efforts to try to change something that won't change, right? But what we can do is focus on our generation and the future generations, right? So as we continue to move forward with just teaching our future generation about, to be respectful, to not be racist and all that stuff,
Yeah.
then the world will be fair. But like I said, it's going to take a long time. right?
It's
Like, I
not
mean,
gonna happen overnight, that's for sure.
yeah,
we're
it's like
not gonna
last
have just
year.
one solution to
Oh,
change
there's
everything.
not. And
Yeah,
to be
people
honest,
would always
even
think
even
that, but
even in my opinion, a lot of the things that's been being done, like it's good that things are being done, but I wouldn't say they're the most efficient. A
oh,
lot of stuff,
definitely.
in my opinion, are very inefficient, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's still getting the word out, right?
Yeah, change is
So
change.
yeah, so for me, like I'd rather try to think of a more efficient solution that doesn't just benefit one side or one perspective, but is trying to benefit all the perspectives as much as I can. But obviously, because I'm not in the power to do so yet, I'm just going to constantly think, and then until I'm able to,
Yeah.
then I'll act on it, right? Because no matter what, I think there's always different perspectives into every single situation. Um, so it's more beneficial to society, in my opinion, that if we can benefit all the perspectives and not just lean towards one side.
Yeah, I think what we need to focus on is just educating other people that, just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean that I
Yep.
have, right?
Yep. So it's like for me, like it goes down to like not even just about racism or anything, but it's about mutual respect.
Yeah, and just understanding that, these things are happening in our society, right? Like maybe
Mm-hmm.
just because one person's saying that, oh, yeah, there's racism against Asian people is not that bad. Well, that's because they don't know what's happening in other
Mm-hmm.
parts of the world. They don't know what's happening to, friends of their friends and
Mm-hmm.
what other people are going through. So I don't think it's fair to discount other people's experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So we're actually running to the end of this episode. Um. So thank you, Sophie, for coming on.
Any last thoughts?
Yeah. Any last thoughts?
I mean, last thoughts, just I hope that the world is going to continue to become more and more accepting of other people's cultures, other people's skin color and ethnicities. But until we can have leadership in place that can properly enforce some of these things, it's not going to be happen overnight.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. My last message would literally just be fuck racism.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's the general message.
Yeah. That's literally what this episode's going to be called.
Yeah, like people aren't born racist. So
It's what they're taught.
It's what they're taught.
So learn to better yourselves, guys. People, I don't know. Yeah,
That's a
it's
good
rough
message.
out there. Just stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe.
Just try to respect other people.
Yes,
Like,
just
how
be
hard
respectful.
can that be? How hard? I don't like. How hard can it be to not respect
Easier
other people?
said than done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so like last thought. So it's weird because like even though we talk about respect, it's funny because even in school growing up, at least for me, like Catholic school, we're always taught that we should always treat people like how we want to be treated, right? So
Yeah.
Yep.
essentially, that's just basically teaching like respect people.
Yeah.
But for some odd reason, over time, people suddenly do not know the meaning of respect, and they start acting very selfish, stubborn, and it's just like, what the hell happened to humanity?
Yeah, it's rough out there. It's really rough out there. So yeah, I don't know, just learn to better yourselves, guys.
Yeah, learn to respect your neighbor, no matter
Yeah,
what. Just respect.
Also, don't go calling people coronavirus. I don't know where you think that it's okay to say that. It's not okay.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you, Sophie, for coming on, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, see you guys next week.
You'll listen to us next week. Yeah.
Or hopefully see you guys next week. I don't know. Yeah, thanks, Sophie.
Yeah, thanks, Sophie.
Bye, Sophie, because she's still here.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good night. Thanks for listening to the Sad Boy Podcast.
Please remember to subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and have a nice day, I guess.
Yeah, stay sad or happy.
Sad, happy.
Sad
Sad
happy.
boy.
Sad Boy Podcast.
Sad Boy Podcast. Good night.